Travis Wayne Goodsell. I may want to do videos all day just to play my new music clip. An interesting thing by being in the singles wards here in Utah way back in the day. I'm too old for singles wards now. I've heard there's an older one, but it's referred to as the geriatric singles ward. But I found it very odd behavior of the younger singles. I mean, I understand male behavior, even though Utah Mormon males try to deny their male behavior because they don't want women to know of their male behavior, as Utah Mormon women want to accuse men of being perverted or evil or lustful or degraded just for being guys. And it's not the same as allowing rape to call it guys will be guys or boys will be boys. That's a different situation. But there is a commonality that I experienced throughout my Mormon upbringing that I first experienced from my own sister. I'm the oldest, so I didn't have older sisters to learn about women from. And so when I'm well into my puberty years, the first of the sisters starts entering into her puberty. And of course, my dad gave me the sex ed talk of, at your age, you may find when you wake up in the morning that the bed's wet. That's normal. So if you have any questions, let me know. And then school in 5th grade was all about showing me a cartoon dissected penis. Yeah, okay, not interested, don't care. And so learning about women and how women function is completely foreign and mysterious to men. Ancient Chinese secret, you might say. If you know about Calgon commercials from back in the day in the 70s and 80s. Ancient Chinese secret, huh? The Feminine Mystique. I think that's a book title. And then there's a book called Women, which I haven't bought back. I had bought it back in the 2000s. I found it in a Barnes & Noble, but I can't find it just Google searching woman on Amazon because of the way they set up their analog system for search engines. I can't remember the name of the author, but that's the title of the book, just woman. Learned a lot. Learned that as an embryo, I was a girl first. And then my DNA kicked in at the certain stage in the development of the embryo, and then I started turning blue. Girls are pink, boys are blue, right? And so that sort of screws up the whole Genesis story of Eve coming from Adam's rib. Are we sure it's a rib? And are we sure it's not the uncomfortableness of the biblical author who doesn't want to tell the real story that came from the Egyptians. But I noticed that with my sister, and then I noticed with other women, Mormon women, as I went to Rick's on my mission and stuff, that out of the blue, they would just burst out into a fury and spew accusations, of which I can only think that they've been possessed by the devil, because I'm not guilty of what they're accusing me of. How do you respond to somebody who's just throwing out an accusation and getting irate to the point of physical violence even? What do you do? And obviously telling a woman to love one another does not go off well. And so, as a married man, you then live your life in fear. You know, dear God, when is she going to blow? And if men don't figure out the woman's cycle, if they don't get her pregnant on a regular basis, we live in literal fear. Now, when I dated Kimberly, she was awesome. She just had frustration, which, if I could identify the source of her frustration and fix it, and yes, fix it, her frustration's gone. It's amazing how fixing things for women actually does solve their problems, despite how certain women tend to think that, no, we don't want our problems fixed. We just want to spew our emotional frustration. So yes, she was just getting frustrated, and she wouldn't say why. And I looked at the counter and went, I wonder if I just put things away in their places. I did that, and all of a sudden she was lovey-dovey. One bourbon, one scotch, one beer. Lord, she was lovey-dovey. It's amazing, the miracle. I have solved the mystery of woman. And it was interesting because she was a 3-weeker, not following the moon cycle. That was interesting. But yeah, she didn't go through the dramatic mood shifts as many others I've encountered in my life, especially 2 of my wives and my sister, and many women I dated. And but she's the reason why I like blondes now too. Women don't realize the impact that they can have on a man's life. And so an interesting experience on my mission, where in Poughkeepsie there was the Morgan family, and I knew the oldest daughter from Rick's, which made for a very uncomfortable situation as I'm going over there and I'm looking at the family photo and I'm going, I know her. I think I may have dated her. And then in retrospect realized that the 16-year-old daughter the sister of the girl from Rick's I knew, was the one who had a crush on me. And sent me gifts, especially finding out my birthday. And what was strange is that one day the missionary companion was told by an investigating couple of ours that they needed a babysitter, and he said, "Oh, the Morgan have a teen daughter. I'll ask her parents if she can babysit, because teens, you don't go to the teen and bypass the parents. You go straight to the parents first. That's proper protocol and procedure." But I didn't do it. I didn't even know about the babysitting. I didn't even make the call. Didn't recommend calling the parents. It was all the companion that was doing it. But come church time, I'm the one who gets the lashing in the public. Wow. I mean, what do you do? What do you do? You just stand there, all the adults are looking at you as the 16-year-old girl is screaming and yelling at a 19 or 20-year-old missionary who just wishes he can go back to bed. But at least her argument had a solid basis. It wasn't a false accusation, other than she assumed it was me who did it. She was upset that we didn't go to her first. She didn't want to get her parents' permission. She had no intention of telling her parents that she would have gone. She just wanted me to be the one to call her. And did not want to reveal that. And so expressed her frustration with another excuse. And it's a similar pattern of behavior, though it's different. That's the video I was intending to do. Laws of physics. I got caught up after I showered and shaved and forgot about it. Laws of physics. Okay, so I'll do that one next. And the thing that I've learned being a Mormon, with my understanding that I've grown up with, which everybody lives a different life, so they all learn things differently. Is my pen running out of ink? And so nobody is at the same level as another person just by virtue of being born by the parents that we were given, or who gave each other, and the upbringing with the social, geographic, and other experiences that we all have different from others. Even twins have different experiences just because they're not the same person. They're completely different people with different bodies, different senses and experiences as a result. And so human behavior is difficult to predict. And then come along psychiatrists who categorize us into box categories to control us. That's what it's designed for, because they can't control the masses on their own. in order to control the masses, you have to categorize everybody as one. So the church leaders, how do they categorize their audience of Mormons? Well, you're all Mormon. You're the youth of the noble birthright. You're the royal generation. You're preserved in the latter days. You're children of God. And that's the category box that Mormons get placed into. And Mormons who say, yeah, I believe you. I am who you claim I am. And so then you live your life based on the category you've been designated, rather than based upon your experiences in life, identifying truth independent of a biased categorization. So when I was in grade school, teacher gave us a color test to find out which color we were for our personality. Oh dear God. I never really excelled on any particular color but blue and white. And it varied depending on how I chose to answer, as I soon found out. The questions were designed to use our feelings against us based upon our experiences in life. And that was the trap. And the problem is that I wasn't any color because my experiences were close to blue and white, and it couldn't decide between blue and white because it's not blue and white. Neither one. Not even the mixture of the two. And that was the flaw of the system. As I realized, well, gee, all I need to do is turn my frown upside down and I put a different answer on the test. And I saw this with the 2016 election, where the various Facebook apps or programs were asking, which Disney princess are you? Okay, well, I'm a guy, not a princess, but what the hell? And so I'm taking the test, and it has nothing to do with Disney or princesses. It's all about my emotional reaction to certain situations. How do I feel about such a situation? And sure enough, I was limited to only 4 choices, just like the colors: red, yellow, blue, white. No other colors were allowed. No other Disney princess categories were allowed. And they had it set up so that, if you chose a red color for one of the questions or a blue color for another question, then it became a different princess than just the main 4 category princesses. But I think I was Pocahontas. As my Disney princess. Yeah, I recognized that it was just a for fun thing, I thought. Little did I know later on that it was Cambridge Analytica when Steve Bannon was a part of it, and he was then selling it to the Russians, and then the Russians took that data and designed specific campaign slogan memes and advertisements, thinking that they were going to brainwash me into a certain line of thinking to rig my decision for voting in that election. And yes, they're doing it now too, I'm sure. I no longer am a part of Facebook, as there are too many other problems with Facebook, with fake accounts of my regular neighbors here. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm already a friend with them. What's going on? And finally I reached out to somebody and said, hey, did you guys have another account? No. Somebody was frauding accounts, specifically to target certain people to get their data as well. And so the manipulation of people's feelings has been well understood to control the masses. You get the different kinds of feelings into category boxes and then attack. And unfortunately in psychiatry, which is a pseudoscience, it's fake science, they don't use standard measurements. Like a doctor draws blood, checks the cell counts for white cells, blood, and red cells type thing, depending on what it is that they're looking for a cause of outward symptoms. But with psychiatry, they only control the outward symptoms. They never, ever go into the brain to identify a cause. Because if they find a cause, guess what? They're not needed. You have to go to a medical doctor, like a neurologist, who can do surgery to either remove the causal problem, such as a tumor in the brain that may be cutting off electrode circuitry to allow for a certain human response that would be typical of a human person, or other damage like a car accident or head trauma of any other kind that results in brain damage that therefore causes outward symptoms. And psychiatrists, no, they can't do that because they would all lose their jobs. And so they end up serving a function for the government with MK Ultra. And yes, they were a part of the movie theater experience back in the days, where they would insert frames of Coca-Cola or popcorn to see if they can trigger in those who went to the theater that day, if they would say, "Oh, I desire a Coke," as I'm looking at that hot dog dancing across the screen, or watching Hitler being slaughtered by our American forces. That was what they were testing, is to see if putting frames in the pictures. And then so now we have backmasking for music, which used to be where you can play the record backwards. Which then triggered a remembrance of the comic strip Bloom County, where they played a record backwards, one of their own records, because they were part of Billy and the Boingers. And go to church, say your prayers. I actually voted for Bill and Opus my first voting year because I didn't like any of the candidates. They were in violation of the Constitution of a constitutional republic. Not communism with party government, not representative government of fascist Nazism. Anyway, so yeah, emotions really play a significant role in the mortal experience, and I'm shocked that it was me who discovered the religious Christ-like symbolism of a woman's body, and that not a single woman I've come across has ever conceived that their bodies are symbols of the Christ. Not just the bearers of symbolic Christ, but their bodies literally are in that symbolism. As I won't go over it, but But yeah, the secret was kept from me all those years, and so it took until I finally got married to a woman, then later on, but I already knew by then. It took me getting married and seeing firsthand a woman's body and how it works and functions, and I got inspired. Oh. And interestingly, the majority of the revelations came from sex. Dear, we have to have sex. I need to get revelation. It also cures headaches. I'm not going to go there, because there was an experience. I'm not going to go there. And so, women don't need to be as mysterious and secretive about themselves. They don't need to be ashamed. They don't need to cover up. Just know. Gain knowledge. Understand yourself, your bodies, how it works, and understand the religious connection and to the symbolism of Christ. So